Good morning, I'm Dave Fornell. I'm the event organizer for the Illinois Railway Museum event here in Union, Illinois. This event will have about 200, 250 people as of today, and it's kind of a unique venue for World War II because we're involving the trains again, where we have the North Platte Canteen reenactment. The USO Stateside operations, they have set up in a train depot a USO style canteen that you'd find in some of the smaller towns across the country during the war, which North Platte Canteen is probably the most famous, but there are thousands upon thousands of these small canteens and small depots everywhere. The North Platte Canteen was one of the largest canteens. They served hundreds of thousands of troops that came through, and they've reproduced the signs, they've reproduced photos with the display inside the depot, and we do a reenactment where at the end of the day we ask all the Americans and all the other reenactors to change to Class A's and Class B's so we can have them stream off the train in large numbers with MPs accompanying them so they could rush through the lines and get current newspapers and magazines and food, and they rush back onto the train at the blow of the whistle and they take off and they ride the train out for 45 minutes with the public to hobnob or play games of craps in the ambulance.
This is Gretchen Story, Stevens, then it was Story. I played parts at the canteen. I did my time at the canteen. We had lots of
North Platte Canteen.
North Platte, right, Nebraska. I lived kind of near there. All the ladies did all the work and the girls just helped.
Look at this. Oh,
We did as we were told. Someday they'll have to reopen that canteen.
How old were you when you went to the canteen?
I spent my high school in the war. So I was 14, freshman, in 41, 42.
So did you get to be a platform girl? Like, did you go out on the platform to meet the trains, or were you usually inside the canteen, or
I remember going out to the train.
trains, going out to the trains, meeting the trains and stuff?
Yeah.
Did you ever go on the trains?
No, they were really crowded.
They were really crowded, so
I did take a bus sometimes, and they were really crowded. Because some guys would always want to give you their chair, and you know that they've been going coast to coast on a bus. I'd always sit on the suitcase in the aisle. And I lived, you might say, right on the train tracks, a block or so from the trains. And there were trains every 3 minutes on the average. And it was only a two
trains.
one each direction.
Right.
At that time. Now I've got 4 or 5.
So that's a lot of trains.
Yeah.
You're going in one direction or the other.
Yeah, he gets used to, you just don't even hear it. But, then when the war was at the end of it, they were using those box cars like they have one over there all painted up. But it was for bodies. It wasn't for living people. And there was a national cemetery there. And there weren't very many national cemeteries then, so I mean it was one for several states. So we would see those, we would see like Pullman cars painted over. And the windows were on. You could see through. And then we could, the cemetery was about 3 miles from our house. And you could hear the
train pulling in.
well, the honor guard. You could hear the bullets.
Right. The 21 minutes.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And the one thing I kind of was most impressed about, I guess, everybody was suddenly working. Everybody. We didn't have teachers. They were either with the military or with the ammunition or airplane building, and they paid highly in this.
Right.
So I thought the teachers would do it. Yeah, I probably wouldn't, but
they were all retired.
Yeah, they had retired many years before.
Yeah.
Because married ones didn't teach.
Right.
My dad had been in World War I and pilot's training, so he went back to the pilot stuff. And the Navy had a branch in Nebraska, Navy Air.
Okay.
And they had ground school there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And preliminary pilot training. Papercraft, fiber cups, small planes. So that's what my dad was doing.
Did he train other pilots? Like, was he an instructor?
Instructor. Yeah, so we had an interesting ground school and civil air patrol, of course, high school kids mostly. So we learned a lot that way. It was more unconventional, you know. My dad would buzz the house next, and that means we're supposed to go pick him up. My brothers, one went with his Army and one went with MacArthur's, well, not MacArthur, he was in the Navy, he went South Pacific. So suddenly, my dad turned to me. You're all I have left. Let's get to work.
Were you the youngest? No.
My brothers were gone.
Pardon?
But my brothers were gone.
Your brothers were gone. Okay.
Yeah, one brother had appendicitis surgery, kind of an extreme. And he was ordered back to camp. And there he had to do his training, even though he could hardly walk. And their training consisted of baseball. At the time I thought, baseball? Why don't they get ready for the war? That's what they do with grenades.
That's what what?
Grenades.
Oh.
And he had lots of parties for their life. Everything was hip and parade, let's go, you know. It was really a war. There's not a war. I mean, we got people fighting and being killed, but
It was all about morale.
yeah.
And it involved everyone. It was the whole, everyone's attitude was, what can I do to help? And it was, everyone was personally affected.
No stockings.
No, I haven't had time to paint my license.
Do you at least have a pencil for the...
We do, yeah. We have light paint and a pencil.
Yeah, toward the end of the day.
I remember about the makeup on your legs. There's false stockings. How it gets all over everything.
It rubs off when you cross your legs and then kind of smudges the line in your leg.
If you go visit a friend, it gets all over their furniture.
If you're silly enough to be wearing a white slip, you'll have brown inside your slip.
Oh, I still get it. Like,
Yeah.
But I thought, why? You know, why not just there?
yeah, in and out, in and out. It's,
Last year, somebody was wearing hair where you tuck it over, you know, put a ribbon around a cloth scarf, and then tuck it over. I thought, I don't think I can do that.
It's easier if someone else does it.
yes, and they work together.
You gotta have long enough hair.
Yeah.
North Nebraska was a major transportation hub for the Union Pacific Railroad. And so all passenger trains of the Union Pacific line traveled through North Platte. It was kind of like a giant hub. And it was also a water refueling station. So they were guaranteed a 10-minute stop because they had to refill the water tanks of the locomotives. That took 10 minutes. So very rarely were the troops allowed off the troop trains as they were traveling across the country. But because they knew they were guaranteed a 10-minute stop, they were allowed off the trains at North Platte, Nebraska. Well, it so happened that in December of 1941, rumor had it that the Nebraska National Guard was going to be coming through on the troop train that day. Now, of course, all troop movements were secret. Loose lips do sink ships. So no one knew that the North Platte boys were coming home, but they knew the North Platte boys were coming home. So the women started baking. They baked everything on their ration coupons. They traded with the farmers down the way, and they made cakes, they made cookies, they made sandwiches, they made pheasant sandwiches both in and out of season. Cucumber sandwiches, peanut butter, marmalade sandwiches, you name it, they had it. Milk, coffee, magazines, anything. They got, that train came in, they went up to the windows, and it was not the Nebraska National Guard. It was the Kansas National Guard. They were a little disappointed, but then Ray Wilson, she looked at all those faces and she said, well, there's somebody's brother, there's somebody's son, there's somebody's boyfriend, somebody's fiance, somebody's brother. I'm not taking these baked goods home with me, and she passed that plate up through the window. And that started something. She wrote a letter then to the North Platte Telegraph and said, I think that we should meet every troop train that comes through. There's somebody's sons, and we want our sons to be treated this way, so we should treat their sons this way. And it was agreed upon. And over 130 different organizations from 3 different states all took turns and met every single troop train that came through from December of 1941 through 1945. By the end of the war, in a little past, they served over 6 million service personnel. 2,000 to 5,000 people a day. Troop trains came in starting at 6 a.m. The last one pulled in at midnight. Every organization took a day, and they either came once a month or once a week. Made everything by hand, made everything out of their own rationing funds. It was not a government organization. It was not something that the government did or that the USO did or the American Red Cross. It was all done by volunteers, and it was all started by Ray Wilson. She wrote the letter, and everybody else agreed. So what we have today is a small sampling of that. We have one troop train that's coming in. The gentleman will get off the train, and they really didn't know what to expect. Though rumor would have it, and as some people went back and forth across the United States more than once, passing through North Platte, they knew what was going to happen. So after 2 or 3 days of sitting up and sleeping on a troop train, just in a seat eating K rations, all of a sudden the word would go out through the train, and it would be like, next stop, North Platte. Next stop, North Platte. Most of the guys had no idea what that meant, but the ones that did, they sat a little straighter, they buttoned up their shirt, they put their ties back on, all wearing their uniforms. And when that train came in, they were the first to the head of the line. Everybody else just kind of stumbled off, stretched their legs, walked in through the depot, only to be met by women, food, piano, dancing, girls. I hadn't seen them in a while. And they would stay and they would eat as much as they could because, well, it was fresh food. The MPs would blow that whistle, the train would blow its whistle, the MPs would blow their whistles. And the gentleman knew that if they didn't get back on that train, then they were considered AWOL. They'd be arrested. And they didn't want that to happen. So they would sprint back to the trains, trying to steal one last dance, steal one last cookie, steal one last sandwich, and take it with them. Throughout the course of the North Platte Canteen, they would serve everything in ceramic cups. There is no plastic, there is no styrofoam, it's all glass and stuff. They didn't lose one coffee cup for those 6 million boys, because they would take them, what are you going to do with the coffee cup? So you take that coffee, you finish drinking on the train, you hand it to the railroad worker. They'd collect them all, and the next train going back to North Platte, they put all that back on, bring it right back to the canteen. The women would wash it and use it again. Same with the magazines and the books. Grab one, take it, read it, get as far as it gets back, put back on a train, coming back the opposite direction, gets dropped back off at North Platte. They were either going to the Pacific Theater or they were going to the European Theater. Yeah, it depends on which direction they were traveling. So if they were going west, they were most likely going to the South Pacific. Traveling east, most likely going to Europe. Yes, there were several ladies that established relationships with the men that they met. One of the things that the high school girls liked to do was make popcorn balls. And inside those popcorn balls, they'd write their name and address. So if you want a pen pal, go ahead and write me. And I'm a good girl, you know. So they would make those popcorn balls out, they'd hand them out to the boys. And every once in a while, some people would write back, and they would correspond back and forth, because that's what you did. And so they would write back and forth. And there is a story of 2 sisters, actually. And so the one sister writes a letter, and they correspond back and forth, and the gentleman overseas goes, my buddy wants a pen pal too. And so she's like, well, I got a younger sister. And so then the sister starts corresponding back to the buddy, and the sister and the buddy ended up getting married during the war.
Is that the Chattanooga choo-choo? That's the Chattanooga choo-choo. On track 29. 29? Uh-huh. That's on the Tennessee line. She said the Tennessee line. Jack, she means that she can't afford. I can't afford to board a Chattanooga choo-choo. Have you got in there? Oh, perfect. You say you have? Uh-huh, but not a nickel to spare. Well, I do declare. You leave the Pennsylvania station by the corner. Read a magazine and then you're in Baltimore. Dinner in the diner. You could be finding a bag to and an eggs and Carolina. When you hear the whistle blowing in your bar. Tennessee is not very far. Apple all the golden, got to keep the rolling. Oh, Chattanooga, Chattanooga.
Real cool. Go with it. Thank you kindly. Oh, thank you kindly.
There will be about a 15-minute stop here at the canteen. We'll hear a horn on the whistle. When it's time to reboard, that'll be about 15 minutes. And in addition, any of the public that wants to ride our very last trip of the day, they can start boarding anytime on the coach train.
Now you're.
Dark cake, got more carrot cookies. Water. Oh, same. So no matter what.
You have a pocket in your apron.
Star cake. Anybody want a star cake? Star cake? Smell that. Star cake. Peanut butter, jelly. Star cake got apple in them. Star cake has apple They're just a mini
You've got pockets. That's why you guys have pockets, yes, go ahead. Star cake. Star cake with fruity gnomes. I on the table. You're missing out on these star cakes. I saw crackers, skinny man. Crackers. Anybody want to upper roll? Upper roll. Birthday
Desperate for anyone, just to have the authority to say that your boy is
You're not going to be able to take that with your own, right?
the Tommy just wants to be over. I want to come home and make lots of bacon.
No, you weren't going to give it to me. No, that's fine. No,
What are you doing? Are you providing civilians with food? There's a line right here. You're not supposed to feed the civilians.
You've been calling my name. Nobody wants to be here.
I just want to make sure. I think that might be a little bit out of uniform regulation.